What's up, guys? Welcome back to Sliced, and I have a confession to make. I kind of messed up. I deleted I deleted so many videos over the past few days. I accidentally deleted a lot of the videos from this video. It's actually painful how much time I spent, and I just deleted them. But you know, is what it is. So what I'll do is I'll voice note the beginning bit. I've just lost the beginning part basically, but you know, I'll at least the rest of it's all right, I guess. So yeah, I'll just voice note over the first bit, and then we'll get straight into it.
So these days, chicken korma has been changed and made into this sort of ready meal looking thing. And if you eat it at a restaurant, it's made into quite a British or westernized thing with loads of cream and sugar added to it. Very mild, if you know what I mean. But did you know traditionally it would often be served in a sitting like this? Really decadent, lots of flavor, lots of color, really sort of regal. And that came from the Mughal Empire. If you don't know what the Mughal Empire is, you might recognize this person here, who's Shah Jahan. You don't recognize him? Well, then you'll definitely recognize this really famous landmark that he made, the Taj Mahal. So these kind of really decadent, elaborate architecture and the sort of golden era of India is what the Mughal Empire is known for. But the Mughal empires would order really decadent, elaborate and hedonistic kind of cuisines to be cooked for them. Now, curries cooked with turmeric and tomato for their colour and flavour were seen to be sort of a poor thing because they were quite cheap ingredients. And so they had saffron, which came from Persia, used to flavour this curry. And there's no tomato or turmeric found in this curry. The colour comes from the saffron itself. And there's even a saying that if you were able to cook a korma properly, then you were able to be a chef for the Mughal emperors.
So we're splitting this video up into two parts, really. The marination of the lamb and the cooking of the curry itself. As you can see, I'm really stupid and I kind of deleted the first bit of this, but you see me picking up bits of onion because I sliced up three onions for this video, and I fried them off in some ghee until they were nice and brown. You'll see what they look like later. And then what else I've done is taken some garlic and grated it up, as well as some ginger, and grated that up too. I'll put the measurements and all that kind of stuff around. I used one dried Kashmiri chili, crushed it up and added that to the mix as well. You just use whatever you want. Pinch of salt, and I added my onions. You see how brown they are? That's going to add all that flavor. Then I added the lamb in, and the lamb is really important because you really want to get that tender cut of lamb. The Mughals wouldn't have used sort of fatty pieces of shoulder. They would have used really sort of lean cuts, and that's why I've used the meat that you get from chops. You know, like front chops and back chops. You usually order them in like Asian butchers and stuff like that as chops. But if you order the whole sort of saddle and get that cut off separately, then go ahead and do that. It's going to be so much better. And I've added some natural yogurt to it as well. It has to be natural yogurt because it's got live bacteria inside it, which is going to help tenderize that meat. I'm just going to mix that in really nicely, and you can marinate that however long you want. I did 20 minutes. You can do overnight, however long you want really. You can just cook it straight away if you want. Then starting with our spices, biggest to smallest. So we've started with our cinnamon stick and black cardamom pods. And what we're going to do is crush the black cardamom pods, taking the seeds out, removing the husks and crushing it. So I don't know if you can see that, but we've got some black cardamom pods seeds at the bottom, and I'm just going to crush them into a powder using a pinch of salt. And really important to put salt at different stages of this because you want to layer that seasoning. You don't want to just put a bunch of salt in at the end. It also acts as a good abrasive as well to help break down that cinnamon. And once we've done that, you're going to go ahead and add in 4 bay leaves. These are really hard to actually break down. Just do your best, to be honest. They're going to cook down a lot when you cook it as well. You can always just remove any sort of stems that you see when you're cooking it. That's absolutely fine. But as you can see, we'll try and break that down as much as possible. I'm going to add in some black peppercorns and some cloves. And we're just going to break that down as well, crushing it up along with our cardamom. I'm using 10 green cardamom pods. I'm just going to break them up and put the seeds in, crushing it all up just like so into a fine powder. And you can use some coriander seeds if you have them. Coriander seeds are better, but I didn't have any, so I just added in about a tablespoon of coriander powder and just mix that in as well. Next up, we're adding about 2 tablespoons of garam masala. You can use your own blend if you want, or you can just use the packet mix like I did. To be honest, even if this whole spice mix looking thing is looking quite difficult for you, just start off with a normal korma mix, you know? Like, the most important thing is that you're trying to cook for yourself, and that's really the most important thing. But if you want to follow my recipe, it's a really good traditional way of seasoning your korma. Last ingredient, which is kind of important as well, is kyura water. So kyura water, also you can use rose water, is a sort of sweet kind of distilled water from a flower. It's quite Pakistani. You don't really see it in many recipes these days, but it's very traditional for a korma to have this kind of sweet element to it. It balances out all those hot spices and, you know, kind of brings the dish together. Next up, we have our saffron. We're not going to add that just yet. What we're going to do is have these strands on the side and just put a little bit of boiling water on top of them. What it's going to do is allow it to bloom and let all that flavor and color come out into the water, and it's just going to get darker and darker as time goes on. So put that in now. Next up, we have our pan, and as you can see, I fried up my onions in that. Just leave them in there, you know, absolutely fine. Gives more flavor anyway. And we're going to add in our curry mix into that ghee. And as you can see, I'm cooking this over a long period of time, and even though it looks like I'm cooking on a high heat, it's actually a very low heat. It's just that water that's reacting to that ghee, which is giving off a lot of sort of smoke and sizzling a bit. So just keep mixing it on a very low heat. You want to cook it for about 10 minutes. As you can see, I'm just constantly cooking and stirring this, and you'll know your curry base is ready when you can stick your nose right into it, and you should be able to take a deep breath, and it shouldn't enter your lungs. It should be really nice and perfumed, if that makes sense. Next up, we're adding in our lamb mix, and this is really important to keep the heat low, because if you had a high heat, the yogurt's just going to curdle. So introduce it to a low heat and slowly start mixing this in, and gradually it's going to start cooking just like so. And what I've done is I've used the bones from the meat actually, so the sort of bones from the chops that you would get. I'd roasted them off and I added a bit of water to it, simmering it, making a stock, and I'm going to use some of that liquid bit by bit just to stop that yogurt from burning. And you want to cook it in an open pan so the water starts evaporating and you get a rich sauce. So just keep adding water bit by bit. As the water evaporates, add a little bit more, keep cooking it, low heat, and about an hour and a half later you should arrive at something that looks like this. And it looks so much darker now. And I know what you're thinking when you saw that first picture, you were worried that it's going to be really white and pale, but as you can see, it's developed a lot of color. And what we're going to do is boost that up by adding in our saffron. Make sure you get every little bit in. This is a really expensive spice, the most expensive spice in the world, so make sure you get all those strands in, allowing that to bleed out into the curry a bit more, infusing those flavors. And once you cook that off for about 10 minutes and you're satisfied with the lamb, add in cream. Now, don't lace it with cream like all these restaurants do, pouring so much cream that you can barely taste the curry. Add it bit by bit. I've used about a glass worth of cream, about 250-300 mils of double cream in total. You can use single cream, absolutely fine as well. But the cream is very important actually, because the yogurt is very bitter, and so you need that richness of the cream to counteract that, and it will just bring the dish together as a whole. So I added it in bit by bit, making sure you taste it in between each one just to make sure that it's the way you like it. And I've served it up with some fresh roti, really simple. And actually traditionally they would use cashews, almonds and dried fruit in this, because obviously it has that Persian influence. I don't really use nuts in my cooking because my brother has an allergy, but by all means, if you want to add nuts to this, it's going to make it so much tastier. You can fry off the nuts at the beginning with the rest of your spices. It will add a whole other dimension to that. You can add dried fruit as well, but I know we Pakistanis aren't very sort of keen on that kind of thing these days. It was more of a traditional thing. But by all means, you can add dry figs or anything like that. And so if you'd like to see more of these videos, please like, subscribe, follow me on my socials at slice_YT, and I'll see you guys next time.